welcome home. Should we stay in tonight?
Here is a quick look at the use of guns in the last 24 hours. 3 police officers were shot and wounded in the space of an hour last night. A man was shot in broad daylight and subsequently seen limping away from the scene.
We're urbanizing at well over 1 million people a week. That means that every 2 months, there's the equivalent of a New York metropolitan area being erected on this planet. Is there kind of an optimum or maximum size to a city? Could you have Tokyo 100 million or Mexico City 100 million?
The economy will double in the next 20 years, and the infrastructure needs for economic development are just enormous. You can't do really economic development without infrastructure.
People now know what other people have in other parts of the world, and everybody wants that. Governments need to rise to the challenge.
If you talk to a developing country, what they'll say is they need foreign investment. I mean, where's the investment going to come from?
Well, there's a lot of short-term liquidity in the market. Long-term capital is still very difficult to get to commit.
We've got to bring in new investors. They've got to see that infrastructure is a major part not only of their investment portfolio, but of developing the economy.
The whole point of having a city, the whole point of all that infrastructure is a way of bringing people together, create new things, and in particular create wealth.
Governments, I think, are beginning to understand that they have to put in place policy measures, guarantee systems. Nobody's got the answers yet, but there's a lot of thinking going on.
The most important thing is cooperation. World Economic Forum can facilitate cooperation, collaboration among governments, the private sector.
Construction organisations, development organisations, companies like ourselves in the real estate sector who have an intellectual property in this area.
Looking at case studies of what has worked and what has been very successful, and then helping people become aware and sharing best practice and be an advocate of the necessary changes that need to take place.
Probably going to be technical solutions, and we're the folks that can provide technical solutions.
You know, it's such an extraordinary group of people that are attracted here. Potentially, maybe there can be a little impact on what's going to happen.
Good afternoon, folks. The Vice President and I have some good news to report. And I'd like to make two key announcements today related to our COVID-19 vaccination effort. As you know, a few days ago, after a rigorous open and objective scientific review process, the Food and Drug Administration issued an emergency use authorization for the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. We should all be encouraged by this news of a third safe and highly effective COVID-19 vaccine. The more people who get vaccinated, the faster we're going to overcome this virus and get back to our loved ones, get our economy back on track, and start to move back to normal. But that's one of my first goals in office when I got in office, was to say that there will be 100 million vaccination shots administered in my first 100 days in office. We've got halfway to that goal in 37 days, and I feel confident we'll make it all the way. As I've said, we have a long way to go, but as I said from the outset, we're going to use every resource of the federal government to make it happen. Among the things I learned when I came in office was that Johnson & Johnson was behind in manufacturing and production. While we had the potential of another highly effective vaccine to accompany the two existing vaccines, it simply wasn't coming fast enough. So my team has been hard at work to accelerate that effort. As I've always said, this is a wartime effort, and every action has been on the table, including putting together breakthrough approaches. And today, we're announcing a major step forward. Two of the largest healthcare and pharmaceutical companies in the world that are usually competitors are working together on the vaccine. Johnson & Johnson and Merck will work together to expand the production of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. This is the type of collaboration between companies we saw in World War II. We also invoked the Defense Production Act to equip 2 Merck facilities to the standards necessary to safely manufacture the J&J vaccine. And with the urging and assistance of my administration, Johnson & Johnson is also taking additional new actions to safely accelerate vaccine production. Johnson & Johnson's vaccine manufacturing facilities will now begin to operate 24/7. In addition, we'll continue to use the Defense Production Act to expedite critical materials in vaccine production, such as equipment, machinery, and supplies. I've also asked the Department of Defense to provide daily logistical support to strengthen Johnson & Johnson's efforts. And I want to thank Johnson & Johnson and Merck for stepping up and being good corporate citizens during this national crisis. Here's what all this means. We're now on track to have enough vaccine supply for every adult in America by the end of May. Let me say that again. When we came into office, the prior administration had contracted for not nearly enough vaccine to cover adults in America. We rectified that. About 3 weeks ago, we were able to say that we'll have enough vaccine supply for adults by the end of July. And I'm pleased to announce today, as a consequence of the stepped-up process that I've ordered and just outlined, this country will have enough vaccine supply, I'll say it again, for every adult in America by the end of May. By the end of May. That's progress, important progress. But it's not enough to have the vaccine supply. We need vaccinators, people to put the shots in people's arms, millions of Americans' arms. To date, we brought back retired doctors and nurses. We deployed more than 1,500 federal medical personnel you usually see during national disasters from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the Commissioned Health Corps at the Department of Health and Human Services and the Defense Department, including the National Guard, with thousands more to come. We're also increasing the places where people can get vaccinated. We've sent millions of vaccines to over 7,000 pharmacies to make it easier for folks to get their COVID-19 vaccine shot like they would their flu shot. The federal government is also working with states to set up hundreds of mass vaccination centers in places like stadiums, community centers, parking lots that vaccinate thousands of people per day.
This world is so bionic, we feel it while we own it. We're programmed to keep nodding, working, starting, eating garbage. This world is so bionic, we're programmed to be on it. We feel it closing on us while we're coughing, growing on it. Yes, welcome to the future, where the past is left back in a drunk stupor. All brainwaves are plugged to computers, and police shoot you, plus they electrocute you. And some say it's better than it's ever been, but it's hard to tell it when everybody's selling information like personal numbers and coordinates. And I bet you didn't know you had an audience, but of course, peeping while you're sleeping, critiquing what you're thinking to see if you're overheating. Circuitry beyond imagination, even to travel many need digital navigation. Pedestrians pacing the sidewalk, no conversation, just rotation on iPods, cause times are a-changing indubitably. If you agree, then let me hear you do it with me, because this world is so bionic, we look like robots on it. We're programmed to keep nodding, working, starting, eating garbage. This world is so bionic, we don't know how it started. We feel it closing on us while we're coughing, growing on it. Yes, indeed we do, that's why nobody ever reads the news. In the days like they seem confused, off their P's and Q's and on weed and booze, etc. Baby, we all on it. We're the only machines that consume narcotics and don't bother to even question the logic. Our thoughts are trained like our brains are bionic. It's crazy but honest, and there's so much radiation around us coming from electronics. They're the only people that made it the longest. We're rich and lived in a cave like Bin Laden, but ain't no way to get away or beyond it. So we let them track what we save on our wallets, and the truth is available if you want it, but nobody gives a fuck. Why's that? Because this world is so bionic. My God, it's electronic. We're made to keep on nodding, working, starting, eating garbage. This world is so bionic. It's even colder on it. We feel it closing on us while we're coughing, growing on it. Yes, and we made it this dangerous, like we don't know who our savior is. Matrices that require maintenance, 6th generation program languages that think more, so your computer class is obsolete, like a man with no house to sleep. Everything around me ruled by dividends, everything artificial, even intelligence. So be hesitant of these bad boys that make mad noise, cause most of them are androids and they pack toys. Never scared to blast boys and girls like asteroids for fun, so come and enjoy a nice place where you'd like to live. Come and get your very own microchip right inside your skin and beside your wrist. Oh yeah, I know you like that shit. This world is so bionic, even our souls robotic. We're programmed to keep nodding, working, starting, eating garbage. This world is so bionic, and no one wants to stop it. We feel it closing on us while we're coughing, blowing on it. Yes.
That's why we're so obsessed with technology, because it's not like this technology is really, I mean, it's certainly enhancing our lives in a certain way, but ultimately, is it making people happier right now? Most technology, I would say no. In fact, you and I were talking about social media before this, about just not having Instagram on your phone and not dealing, and you feel better.
Yes, I think that one of the issues with social media, it's been pointed out by many people, is that I think maybe particularly Instagram, people look like they have a much better life than they really do.
Right.
So
by design.
Yeah, people are posting pictures of when they're really happy. They're modifying those pictures to be better looking. Even if they're not modifying the pictures, they're at least selecting the pictures for the best lighting, the best angle. So people basically seem they're way better looking than they basically really are.
Right.
And they're way happier seeming than they really are. So if you look at everyone on Instagram, you might think, man, there are all these happy, beautiful people, and I'm not that good looking, and I'm not happy. So I must suck, and that's going to make people sad. So when in fact, those people you think are super happy, actually not that happy. Some of them are really depressed. They're very sad. Some of the happiest seeming people, actually some of the saddest people in reality. And nobody looks good all the time. It doesn't matter who you are.
No. It's not even something you should want. Why do you
Yeah.
want to look great all the time?
Yeah, exactly. So, so I think things like that can make people quite sad.
Well, you
just
basically-
by comparison, because you just sort of people generally think of themselves relative to others. We are constantly rebaselining our expectations. And you can see this, say, if you watch some show like Naked and Afraid, or, if you just go and try living in the woods by yourself for a while, and you'll learn that civilization is quite great. It has a lot of it. People want to come back to civilization pretty fast on Naked and Afraid.
Wasn't that a Thoreau quote? The comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah. Well, happiness is reality minus expectations.
That's great too. But the comparison is a thief of joy really holds true to people. Is it?
Theodore Roosevelt.
Roosevelt. Fascinating. When you're thinking about Instagram, because what essentially Instagram is with a lot of people is you're giving them the opportunity to be their own PR agent, and they always go towards the glamorous, And when anybody does show, hashtag no filter, if they really do that, like, oh, you're so brave, look at you, no makeup,
Yeah.
They look good anyway. You look great. What are you doing? Oh my God, you don't have makeup on. You still look hot as f. You know what you're doing. I know what you're doing too. They're letting you know, and then they're feeding off that comment section. Ooh, just a little sitting there like it's a fresh stream of love. Like you're getting right up to the source as it comes out of the earth, and you're sucking that
lot of
sweet
emojis.
love water.
Emojis.
Yeah.
A lot of emojis.
My concern is not so much what Instagram is that I didn't think that people had the need for this or the expectation for some sort of technology that allows them to constantly get love and adulation from strangers and comments and this ability to project this sort of distorted version of who you really are. But I worry about where it goes. Like, what's the next one? What's the next one? Like, where is it? Is it going to be augmented? Is some sort of a weird augmented or virtual sort of Instagram type situation where you're not going to want to live in this real world? You're going to want to interface with this sort of world that you've created through your social media page. Some next level thing.
Yeah. Go live in the simulation.
Yeah, maybe
in the simulation.
Some Ready Player One type shit that's real. And how connected and interconnected is this technology going to be in our life?
It will be, at some point, indistinguishable from reality.
Where we'll lose this. We'll lose this. Like, you and I are just looking at each other through our eyes. I see you, you see me. I hope.
You think so?
I think you probably have regular eyes.
This could be some simulation.
It could. Do you entertain that?
Bravo!